The relationship between love and hate is often a close one. They are both intense emotions, difficult to describe, and at times simultaneous. Perhaps this talk will inspire one of the two, or both, about me and my research. I graduated high school with a 4.0 grade point average and a full ride scholarship to a four-year university. While in college, I maintained a full-time course schedule, extracurricular activities, and high grades. I studied abroad and served in club leadership on campus. I could do all of these things because I love to learn and I'm proactive about my education. I constantly push for more knowledge and growth. In fact, there are still class lecture recordings on my phone right now. Some might say I'm an overachiever. When I started my research a year ago, however, that word didn't quite apply anymore. I was turning things in within a hair of deadlines. I procrastinated and I became an expert avoider. I was even asked, short of hard drugs, what is it going to take to make you do this? Questions like that and the idea of not finishing made that girl of a few slides ago completely petrified, embarrassed, defiant, and scared. She even considered walking away. Being capable of the work wasn't the issue, but what it was about. My thesis studies the relationships of female survivors of military sexual trauma, which is clinically defined as any non-consensual sexual assault or physical contact that occurred during military service. Though the definition sounds impersonal, the realities are anything but. I learned that sexual trauma in the military is linked to poor relationships, depression, substance abuse, and post-traumatic stress disorder. In fact, military sexual trauma is more likely to cause PTSD than deadly combat experiences. This means that women in the military have their physical health, relationship, and mental well-being shattered, more from the assault from their friends than the atrocities of their foes. Many women report having been assaulted by members of their platoon, a brother in arms, men that they trusted with their lives, and that they spent every waking moment with. And those men betrayed that trust in the most poignant and personal way. Now, I don't know how you're feeling about this, but I want to acknowledge that I'm uncomfortable, and this is my research. If talking about sexual assault, unwanted advances, and their effects on survivors causes you discomfort, you're not alone. I welcome you to my struggle. Every time I sat down to work on this project, I felt this discomfort. A 20-minute task would take 2 hours because I would procrastinate, sidestep, and make excuses. And I started avoiding my research because I'm angry. I'm frustrated, I am disappointed, and I hate what these women reported. I read accounts where women were forced into sexual acts in order to be protected. Refusal meant being placed in the lead of a caravan with the greatest danger of IED contact, or some other dangerous position. Their choice in intimacy and romantic relationships was stolen. How then, I asked, are these women to come home, adjust, and move on? Beyond that, have healthy romantic relationships involving touch, when the simplest of physical contact is inextricably tied to a trauma, something worse to them than near-death experiences? The answer is they're not. We found that women in the military who reported assault involving physical contact were more apprehensive of touch and had lower relationship quality. This means that their sexual assault made it more difficult to be happy in their current relationship. Now, not only is their sexual trauma causing their PTSD, but it's robbing them of one of the strongest ways to counteract it. Because we look at their relationships because they act, along with social support, as buffers that protect against PTSD symptoms. I would use the word futile to describe how I felt about my research. I ran from that feeling of failure and futility and stubbornly resisted my frustration and anger. But that attitude only got me behind on deadlines. In order to be successful, I had to change my relationship with my research. And the pieces fell into place when I saw the work in terms of how it could be used, rather than how it affected everyone involved, including myself. I hated what I was learning, but I loved its potential. When I made the decision to use my anger and frustration to motivate myself, I realized that those emotions are what make this research important. My hate for what I was learning meant that I was human, with empathy and a sense of right and wrong. And I love that. Being human involves struggles and challenges that are out of our control. We can't always be that overachiever. I came to accept that I am not impervious to the dark realities of the world, but I can change my relationships with them.